Uganda was intense. Markets that were so full and crammed you could barely actually fit any human beings in there to do any shopping. Streets that had so much going on, you'd be focusing your attention over here and then something would happen 2 seconds later that would draw you over there. You didn't know where to look or focus. So, if you're looking for a quick little feel of Uganda, the people, the landscapes, the animals, the vibes, you're in the right place. Although when I say quick, I don't know, it might be like 10 minutes. I tend to talk a lot. Anyways, Uganda. The lakeside town of Entebbe is going to be the starting point for the vast majority of people visiting Uganda. And it is an amazing starting point. It's like a calm version of everything Uganda has to offer. It sits right beside the beautiful and huge Lake Victoria. You've got fish markets with a small amount of locals, the craziest, ugliest looking stork birds I've ever seen. I had no idea what I was looking at when I first saw them.
Just casually hanging out here with whatever the fuck these things are.
There's monkeys absolutely everywhere, and while it is an excellent starting point because it's just a tamed down version of the rest of the country, most people when they land in Uganda immediately go on safari. And so if you do take the time to go explore the local markets like we did and kind of walk through the villages, people will still be kind of surprised to see you a lot of the time. We came to Uganda really for one reason and one reason only, and that was to become best friends with mountain gorillas. Okay, maybe not best friends, but we wanted to visit these beautiful creatures in one of the last 3 places on Earth you're able to see them in the wild. So we hired a driver and drove 10 to 15 hours into the Ugandan countryside to meet our new best friends. Now, we looked into a lot of different ways you can go hang out with these fellas. You can take public transport. Might save you a little bit of money, but be warned, this is what you're in for. Safe to say we were not mad about our decision to get a private driver. So in the end, we opted for William. A very polite, kind local man who not only taught us a thing or two on the drive to go see the gorillas, but also picked up some pineapple along the way and fed us a bunch of fresh pineapple. Thanks, William. These gorillas are remote. They're about 10 to 15 hours from Entebbe/Kampala, depending on the day, the weather, the traffic. You just never really know. There is not much out there. Small villages and farms that dot the landscape around the forest, but yeah, it's a journey. The process of going to see mountain gorillas in the wild is one of those scenarios that just feels way too crazy to comprehend while you're actually doing it. You go to this station on the edge of the forest and you meet all these super badass looking rangers. They've all got their guns strapped over their shoulders. They give you a breakdown of everything that's going to happen. Then maybe you do a little dance with some of the local ladies just to, get you juiced up for the day. And then they walk with you for hours through local villages, farmland, and then, of course, super dense bush, thick bush. You become so enveloped by this new environment. It's just so foreign to you that you almost forget what it is you're even doing. But then all of a sudden, you hear a noise in the bush, and out of nowhere, there they are. One hour. That's all you get. It's probably the fastest hour I've ever lived in my life. Felt like 5 minutes. But man, was it a majestic 5 minutes. As much as I would have loved to follow that beautiful silverback into the forest, we needed to start the long journey back.
That was fucking incredible. Wow. We saw the baby.
The baby was very cute. I spent a solid 5 minutes.
Along the way, we stopped in a village with lots of locals, and they presented us with these certificates that basically just said, "Congrats on seeing mountain gorillas in the wild. Good for you." And while it was a nice gesture, it was kind of weird. This was the first time in my life I'd felt such moral dissonance. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's basically when you have two realities sitting right next to each other that could not be more different, and it's really hard for your mind to comprehend. On one side, I had just had a once-in-a-lifetime experience with the love of my life, something we'll never forget. But on the other side, the money I spent to access that experience is more than all of the people who were looking at us in that moment earn in an entire year. We were both being congratulated while also surrounded by people whose lives were no question unimaginably harder than our own. I also bought a few things from these two young lads who were entrepreneurs, if you will. They were selling stuff from the village. They had these little pencil drawings on loose leaf, probably done by some of the local kids, and a couple hand-carved wooden gorillas. I gave them $50, which was probably far more than any of it was worth, but at the end of the day, that's not because I'm a saint, it's just I was able to acknowledge that $50 is probably more than any of them make in a month, and so it's gonna go far, far further for any of them than it ever would for me. Something to keep in mind if you're ever in that scenario. As we made our way back to our accommodation, it was a beautiful afternoon, so we thought, why not just roam around the village and see what we find? After only a couple minutes of exploring, we ended up running into a group of kids. They were singing and dancing, and they were really good. It was awesome. You see these things online like you are now, and when you're there in person, it's extremely uplifting and heartwarming. They were so talented, better dancers than I ever have been. Then you have the man who runs the NGO, the organization, the orphanage, explain to you what's happening. that all of these kids are orphans. Their parents have died, whether it was from sickness or one of the other 1,000 ways you could die in rural Uganda. Now, obviously that makes this situation simultaneously very heartwarming because seeing genuine joy and smiles and laughs from these kids is uplifting. But on the other hand, it's also really uncomfortable. All of these kids were dealt such a shit hand of cards in life. Now, I've seen abject poverty in other regions of the world, and it's never easy, but this was different. It felt like this poverty had a sort of economy built around it. And Felicia and I felt very differently about this situation. She felt like she was being emotionally cornered, like her guilt was being turned into a transaction, which was totally true. For me, I knew the situation was really uncomfortable, performative, and maybe even a little bit manipulative. But I was okay to sit in that because in my mind, the imbalance was so real. It couldn't be faked. It also raised a lot of questions. Are we actually helping? Are we being exploited? Am I exploiting them by recording this footage? Am I a bad person if I say no? Am I cold? It's like being at the supermarket and the cashier asks you if you want to donate to some charity, except the entire charity is there waiting for your answer, looking at you. These are all incredibly intense things to feel at the same time, in real time, in this situation. In the end, we were both really happy we experienced this within the first few days of our trip, because it really helped shape our perspective and enjoy what was to come next. Now, for most people, they do these big safari packages that involve going from place to place with the same company. You don't really have a lot of time to decompress and absorb everything that's happening. We decided to take a couple days in Kampala to try and do just that. We stayed at a place with some cute dogs and we thought we'll get a feel for what Kampala is really like. We tend to like cities. Now, if you know anything about Kampala, you'll know that it's not exactly known as a city for relaxing. If you're feeling adventurous, you're up for it, and you've got the time, walking around a city like this is something that I can assure you, you will never forget. But of course, no trip to Uganda or East Africa is complete without doing the big ticket item, a safari. Both Felicia and I are nature lovers. We love animals. We've been insanely lucky to have experienced a lot of wonderful wildlife that this world has to offer.
What'd you say?
But going out on the safari, that first morning before sunrise, hopping in the Land Cruiser after breakfast, it was an experience like nothing I've ever had. I felt like I was a 5-year-old walking through the gates to Disney World for the first time.
Oh, there's a little one. Look.
me. It's like, can you guys move? I'm trying to fast them.
Yeah, he's like, you know, get the fuck out of the way.
Oh.
Huh?
Oh shit. Okay. Okay.
Uganda might not have the volume, the numbers of wildlife that a lot of its neighboring countries do. But what it lacks in volume, it really makes up for in character and passion. People who, you can tell, absolutely love what they do. This is what they live for.
The baby's up, wow. The baby's up.
People always ask me, so what was this country like? And Uganda might genuinely be one of the most difficult for me to summarize. But here goes. It's raw. It's authentic. It certainly doesn't have this beautiful polish to it. But I think that is why I loved it so much. So what's Uganda like? It's rad. It's really rad. Rad as hell. Fucking rad. Peace.
I love you.